actually have a superior executive. Autistic people tend to have an superior executive processing area of the brain
Frontal lobe.
that differentiates from the normal typical executive area. So we actually, it's called Broca's 10 area, and of the executive functioning area of the brain. Anyways, autistic people tend to have that higher functioning than do typical brains. And in that, it says that we actually have so much potential of executive functioning. We don't lack it like people generalize that we do. We don't lack it.
We just need to manage
It's
it,
not
actually.
a
Manage it.
area. It's a different area,
Yeah.
but it's a more compulsive area.
Yeah. And I think we
If
have
that
to
makes any
manage
sense.
it. That is the point. We need to learn to manage it. We need to learn to manage how much we are energy. And I just read about spoon theory. I'm going to read about more about that. For example, you're going to give one spoon, and that I will try to explore more about it. What this theory is.
Broadman's or Broca's, sorry. Broadman's or Broca's area 10. Broadman's or not Broca's, that's speech area. Broadman, I think area 10. Anyways, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I was listening, but I was thinking at the same time.
No, that's okay. Broken bronchitis or something like that. Okay, that's a different thing. But the point over here is that if you know that you know that you have to do a lot of things, but to save your time and to save your energy, if you assign things, assign days, like remember last time I told you that if I cannot memorize something, then I have to give them A stand for this, B stand for this, C stand for this. So it should be a very meaningful word so that I can remember that in the time of exam. So it's more like that. So the more you plan things for yourself, the more you know how much you need to put your energy, and the more focused you are on the work you want to do, it is going to help you out. And the point over here is that we feel bored a lot of time. We have to think about that thing because yes, we master the skill, we have to jump on something skill. So what you can do over there, yeah, that is
Exactly.
also,
People
you have to
realize
give yourself
autistic. I
another
think
challenge,
people.
another
One
difficult
thing,
challenge.
yeah, we focus and compulsively focus on one thing until we know it all. But a lot of things you will never know it all. So like you could just focus on it forever and ever and ever, right? It depends, but once we're done, we get something else and over focus on it. So some people think, oh, they're only good at like this one thing and they're obsessive about it. But
They
yeah,
don't
you're
know that
right.
I
It's
know a lot of
we
things.
just
For example, people might know that I know no stitching. People might don't know that I'm very good in cooking. People will ask, do you work at home? I said yes, I work at home. Why don't you think so that? Why would you ask me this question? And they would ask, okay, do you know who? I said yes, I'm a very good cook. I am a very 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 good cook. If it comes to baking and things like that, so there's a lot of skill I know, but I want to move on. I want to do
whenever we
something
do
else.
something, we have to be good at it.
Yeah, we have to do that because there's a lot of energy at one age of your life. You cannot change your energy into physical energy. It's not possible for you when you're female. In few areas you can do that, but not all the time you can do that. So what you're going to do, because it's not just about physical energy, I more think that it's more like a mental energy. You have a lot of mental energy, and that is it's kind of volt in volts.
Mental,
We have to direct
emotional,
that energy.
physical, and spiritual are all neuroelectrical energies.
That is a neural.
So no matter what, they all cause a reaction in the body, whether it be neurochemical, neuroelectrical, or neurophysiological. They're all actually together in one body.
Yeah, that is, and
So
there's another
you're
thing
right.
that if there's a lot of stress, then I don't like doing things in stress. Not at
Oh,
all.
I avoid everything.
Conflict, not at all.
When there's a lot of emotional stress in my life, I just can't deal with it because I sensory overload. So and this is what I'm trying to get out of the behavior because I had a lot of extreme trauma before and it put me into severe avoidant behaviors of anything related to the trauma, which has affected my education and my ability to be successful in a lot of things because of avoidance. I don't know, is from what I know, it's very common in autistic populations because when there's any higher stress in any realm, mental, physical, emotional, or spiritual, it can actually cause if we haven't, especially if we haven't
Freeze.
already
It's
learned how
actually
to
freeze.
manage the typical
Numbness.
stress we have
It is numbness.
in the sensory overload, when another thing is imbalanced, like it's hard to manage extra stress on top of our already innate stress of sensory overload. So I avoid things, and I've noticed with other children too, and like that's why stress management even in any child, but especially in children with PTSD, autism, and or both,
Yeah.
autism and PTSD, the most important thing I've learned in my own experience and also experiences working with children in both cases, to regulate and to be able to manage that stress by self, or know when to ask for help and feel safe in asking for help when you cannot self-manage the stress.
Exactly.
And that's one thing that I've noticed, even in Canadian culture, it's not made aware, it's not made as power to ask for help, you know, and it's not made as power to know when we need to self-help. You know, it's just all a weakness. If we're not smiling and we're not happy-go-lucky every day and we're not positive about everything in life,
Yeah.
then we're weak. And I think one thing I learned in Thailand, you know, it's similar a little bit. So they don't believe in psychology and therapy and stuff. They didn't anyways back in the
Yes, a
day,
lot of
you
cultures
know,
don't do that. Actually. They don't.
but they did believe in, when you're not feeling great, go to the temple, you know, stay in the temple and breathe. They believed in that. And I have to say, I've gone through some pretty extreme traumas when I was there. And when I came back to Canada, I've noticed the difference between myself and Canadians who, for example, weren't in that, but they were in Canada where everyone talks all the time about everything, you know, and they don't actually breathe. It was different. It was two extremes, because mentally, I feel like I was more at peace. Emotionally, I was a little bit more at peace, but physically, because I'd never talked about it, I'd never gotten that physical matter out of my body, you know, um, I was kind of stunted a little bit. But I've noticed a lot of Canadian people are stunted in the way that I wasn't.
Yeah.
So I feel like balance is something that is missing in many cultures. Not, we all have our ways of healing, but balance is usually missing.
Exactly. And you know, there's something else too. The point over here is that when we talk about autism, the emotional pain actually look like physical pain, and people need to understand that it actually look like physical pain. Pain,
Exactly.
emotional pain is physical pain.
It can cause your heart to stop.
Actually, it will
It's
hold your heart,
neuroelectrical.
your stomach, your head, your dizziness. It will hurt you. It will hurt you so bad. And
For example, if a child sees a bomb explode in front of them, but they don't actually get hurt, but they hear it and they see it, and they see the after effects of it, that shock go into the body,
exactly,
almost like the physical shock is in the body, and it causes an almost identical reaction to what happened. There's a slight differences in what happens later if it's not managed, but very slight, and it's very hard to see.
exactly.
But like, in that saying, or saying, wait, in saying that, you know, I think being able to pick out those subtleties in body language with a child, especially a child, but also in parents or youth, I think it's important for anyone that's working with that population, whether it be educators, clinical psychologists as yourself, researcher like myself, or, and I do respite work too. So but I'm not registered as a psychologist, or just even like a parent. It's important that we're able to pick these little things out so that we can not assume, but we can question, and we can maybe then further be open to what needs to be done, or what needs to be talked about, or what needs to be moved forward in action, or what needs to spiritually be healed, whatever the case, you know, to heal any kind of imbalance in the body. So yeah, people don't realize something. Our thoughts, they're electricity. So they affect a lot. But when those thoughts get stuck, that electricity gets
That's
stuck in our brain, it can
that is
kind
a
of get
problem.
scrambled.
That is a big disaster. So that's all for today. We just let's have 1 minute, and those who are listening to us, thank you so much for listening to us, and see you in the other discussion. Thank you.